series. In this series, we'll be going through upper body and lower body foam rolling. To start off, we'll be starting out with a ball and working on the forearms. When foam rolling out our forearms, it's often to feel knots and bumps within our tight areas that we need to push out, in order to loosen up the forearms. These knots form through many of our daily activities every single day. Often, when you feel pain in the wrist, shoulder, or elbow, this can be attributed to tight forearms. Tight or overused forearm muscles can directly lead to a pain or compensation or even an imbalance that can create a further injury for you. So it's important that we adjust the forearms and make sure they're nice and loose in order for us to get a proper workout, or in order for us to have a healthy upper body. Often, tight forearms can be found in people who type, work with their hands all day. Tight forearms can be found from overuse or just simple underuse throughout the day. A tight forearm can be a sign of a compensation or an imbalance from other injuries that you've had earlier on in your life. In order to maintain the proper function within your forearms and a balance from right to left, you'll need to make sure that you keep them loose and functional. In this foam rolling series, we're using a tennis ball and we're gently foam rolling through the palm side of the forearm, going all the way down to our wrist and going all the way up to approximately an inch before our elbow. We're going all the way up to approximately an inch before our elbow. We don't want to feel severe pain while we do this, but there might be some discomfort. We want to make sure that we're foam rolling in a nice, even way throughout our forearm, giving even pressure. If we find that we're hitting a knot or any kind of pressure points as we go through our foam roll, we may want to stay in that area and do small circles in order to get that out. We want to spend at least 30 seconds while foam rolling out each area, and we want to maintain a nice, relaxed body. One of the keys to foam rolling is not tensing up the muscle that you're trying to foam roll. That's why it's key not to put yourself into any kind of severe pain, because a natural reflex of the body is to spasm. Now as we roll over to the dorsal aspect of the forearm, we'll be foam rolling again from the wrist all the way up to about an inch before the elbow. We'll be foam rolling from the wrist all the way up to about an inch before the elbow. Again, if you feel any pressure points in these areas, take a second to work that out by doing small circles and working through any knots that you may find. Also, while you do this, you may want to make a fist and clench your hand and relax to help knead out some of these knots that may be sitting in the middle. This is just a gentle muscular contraction that may slightly increase pain, but will allow you to get a deeper feel. Our next position will be foam rolling out the tricep. Again, we'll be using a ball for this. You can also use something like a rolling pin or any cylindrical object that will roll back and forth. We'll be starting from just about an inch above our elbow and going all the way down to, I'd say, about 2 inches from our armpit. We want to carefully trace our tricep muscle, not allowing too much pressure, but just letting the weight of our arm. We don't want to apply too much downward force. We just want to let the weight of our arm apply all the pressure. We want to work through this for a minimum of 30 seconds. And again, if you reach any pressure points, take a second to try to stop in that position and give a little bit of small circles to help work out those knots. Be mindful that if you put too much pressure here, you may feel some soreness after completing. So you always want to start out by being as gentle as possible and then working your way into your comfort zone. You don't want to start out too aggressive and cause any bruising. Now going into our bicep series. Notice this positioning will have the elbow bent and the thumb facing the floor in order to properly get into position to form to foam roll the bicep. From this area, we'll be going from all the way to the muscle, just to about 1 inch before we hit our shoulder. Again, we only want to use the weight of our arm and not apply any extra downward pressure. This is another area that may bruise very easily. And you want to stay nice and easy to make sure that you don't get any unnecessary bruising. You also want to make sure that you stay out of pain on this and gently work into your own comfort zone. You want to stay at a nice soft intensity for at least 10 seconds, working your way up to make sure that you're not going too intense on your bicep. Again, we don't want to spend longer than about 30 seconds foam rolling this area. When you're finished with the one side, you can transfer over to the other. Now again, working into our shoulder series, we'll still be using a ball for this, but you can use a regular foam roller. And right now, we'll be doing the posterior and lateral aspects of the shoulder. We have the arm flexed at roughly 90 degrees away from the body. And we're doing small circles and forward and back thrusts going along with going down towards the elbow. We're going to work out any possible knots we feel in this area. But again, if you feel any tender areas, let's make sure we're not going too far into pain. And spend no longer than 30 seconds on this area. Again, if for any reason you have severe pain, stop immediately. Now again, showing a similar view, just with a foam roller. Instead of using the ball, we can still get in the same position and work up the shoulder. You may need to raise the elbow up above the shoulder line in order to get a comfortable position that works. Experiment with moving the foam roller in different ways to find the right position that works best for you. Again, we're not going to spend longer than 30 seconds in this position, and be sure to do both sides. Now moving into a light pec series, this is going to work on the chest muscles. We're going to show you the first angle using a foam roller. As you see, the foam roller is very big for this area, and we're doing a prone position. It means we're lying face down, and we're rolling through the front pec muscles. Again, we don't want to cause any pain while doing this position. We just want to keep a nice, easy, constant force. Again, we're going to use the weight of our body to apply the pressure. We'll make sure that we're breathing evenly and through our nose throughout the entire process. Again, when complete, you just want to move to the opposite side. Now you can use a tennis ball, lacrosse ball, or even a basketball to work on the anterior aspect of the shoulder. Here you'll just do small circles, working through the pecs, giving a nice, easy movement. Again, be sure to hit on both sides. For our next foam rolling technique, we'll be doing a U, tracing the underarm, going from the posterior aspects of the underarm, getting a little bit of our lats, and some of our internal rotators. And then after we get about 30 seconds working at the posterior aspects, we'll move to the anterior side, getting a nice U and finishing out the front aspect of the chest. Now again, this may be a little bit more difficult for females, so be sure to be careful as you move through here and you're not hitting anywhere sensitive. We want to make sure that as we do this, that we're not tensing up our body and we're breathing the entire time to allow our muscles to relax. Now moving to the anterior aspect of the chest, we're going to be finishing out our U, working through the lateral aspects of the chest. We don't want to hold our breath while we go through this motion. We want to get a nice even pressure, and if we need to, we can support our body from our knees to alleviate some of this tension. Now we'll be foam rolling the scapula area all the way down to the mid-back. This is a more traditional style of foam rolling and positions that you're much more familiar with. Here, we'll be working up to the base of the shoulders and going all the way down to the mid-back. Now we can do this in two ways, where we do up and down thrusts, holding our breath, but still trying to relax our muscles. Now after we get our 10 thrusts in, or as long as you can hold your breath for, we now can breathe through it and allow our muscles to relax while our lungs expand and contract. This will allow for a slightly greater intensity as we go over the middle. again, we want to keep our core activated, but we want to keep our back as loose as possible to allow the foam roller to do all the work. Again, for everyone with long hair, make sure to keep your hair in a bun. You may run it over. Now from here, we're going to show you something called thoracic curls or thoracic crunches. We're going to keep the foam roller in our mid-back, and we're going to do a gentle, small crunch, allowing our spine to curve over the foam roller, helping with alignment. Again, as you do this, there should be no pain. There should be a nice, easy motion as you go through. That's working into our low back foam rolling. We want to make sure to keep a tight core and not allow our body to go into a complete lordosis as we do a nice, light foam roll on our low back. If for any reason you have discomfort doing both sides at the same time, you can lean to either the right or the left and isolate the individual sides in order to get the whole area. If we're isolating the individual sides, we're going to do 30 seconds on each side. But if we're doing both at once, we can do about 40 seconds and just keep both at the same time. Again, notice how we keep a good base by using our elbow for support and using our opposite leg to help bend us through and push us through the motion. Notice how we have a great base of support here by using our elbow and our top leg that's bent to give us a nice firm base. Now working in a piriformis position, we'll have our legs crossed, isolating the left glute. We should have a nice small motion here, rolling through the lateral aspect of our glute muscle. You may have pain with this, so you may need to just sit in one spot and just gently breathe and work through the muscle relaxing. We're going to do this for about 30 seconds and then move to the opposite side. By crossing our legs, this opens up the channel to allow easier access to our piriformis muscle and allows a deeper foam roll on this area. Now again, you can still work on the other aspects of the glute while in this position. So if you'd like to take a little bit longer of a time on this one, that's absolutely fine. This is a very common problem we find with people that sit down at a desk all day, and this will help decrease low back pain. Now moving into our quad and hip flexors, it's important to notice that right now we're doing both sides at the same time, but if you'd like, you can still isolate each side individually. It's very common to have a quad sensitivity or an increase in pain when you're doing your quad muscles. This again can be due to sitting in chairs all day and having a lot of knots or adhesions that have formed within your muscles. As you foam roll up and down, you may actually want to take a more measured approach and starting at your knees, hold and keep only inching up after about 10 seconds. So we'll hold one position for about 10 seconds and then we'll keep inching up slower by slower up the quad if doing a conventional foam roll is too painful for you. Again, we want to make sure we're breathing, and this is one of the most common times that people will tense up or hold their breath, allowing the body not to get an effective foam roll. Moving into our hamstring foam roll, we'll be isolating each individual hamstring, or you can do them both at the same time. If you're isolating each one, you want to cross your legs at the ankles and balance all your body weight onto one side. We want to work our way all the way from the back of the knee, all the way up to the crease of the butt. We want to make sure we're using all our weight to push down on our hamstrings and balancing ourselves on our hands. We're going to continue this for about 30 seconds. Again, if you're feeling sharp pain for any reason, stop. If you do feel like you're rolling over any knots, you can isolate those areas and do small circles. Following with the same technique, we'll move down to the calves, still crossing the legs at the ankle, and now going from the back of our knee all the way down to the bottom of the Achilles. You may want to rock your weight to the left and the right to get all aspects of the calf as you foam roll through. Again, make sure to not tense up your lower body. The more relaxed you can keep your body, the more effective this is. Breathing is essential, so let's make sure that we're keeping nice, slow, deep breaths as we move through this foam rolling series.